Exploring Entrepreneurship, a panel discussion we utilize to provide opportunities for many people to learn from those who have already succeeded in the field. We know from studies that we commission that Austin's entrepreneurs want and value this type of learning opportunity. We are thankful for our esteemed moderator and panelists for volunteering their time to share their insights. We are delighted with these accommodations and would like to thank IGC Bank for graciously allowing us to use this facility. Today's session is freelancer or consultant. Whatever you call yourself, you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It promises to be a lively and informative discussion about creating a livelihood around your talents, selling yourself as the product. According to a study conducted last summer by Elene's Odess, the largest online workplace, 53 million Americans now freelance. That's awesome. Let's give ourselves a hand for that.
Wow.
So our topic today is very timely. Many of you will recognize our moderator, Ron Oliveira, from his many years of bringing us local news, most recently as the lead anchor on KView. Ron, who is an entrepreneur himself, will guide the discussion to give us a look at the joys and the hardships of not only being your own boss, but also the sales, production crew, billing and collection of your own enterprise, so you do it all. He will help us uncover the rewards and challenges of, if it's to be, it's up to me. Our format is an hour of facilitated Q&A between Ron and the panelists, then about 20 minutes of questions from the audience. We are recording this session and will let you know when it's available on our website for viewing. Now, one housekeeping note. Directly behind this wall, you can exit either doors and you will find the restrooms behind us. With that, I'll turn it over to Ron and our fabulous panel of freelancers, or is that consultants?
Thank you, Sylvonia. Pleasure to be here with you all this afternoon. I didn't get all those instructions that she said, so I hope I'm up to the task. But thank you all. And before I talk a little bit more about myself, I'd like to introduce our distinguished panelists up here. To my right, Kandi Cook of KC Couture Styles. Next to Kandi is Jim Comer with Comer Communications. And next to Jim is Ilene Haddad of Ilene Haddad Graphic Design. And big hand for all of our participants here.
It's got to be mama.
And I'd like them to give a little brief introduction and a little bit background about what they do and how they got started. Kandi?
Good morning. As Ron mentioned, my name is Kandi Cook, and I am the owner and CEO and microphone's going on.
Do not know.
Okay. Let me start over. As Ron mentioned, my name is Kandi Cook, and I am the owner and CEO and chief dishwasher and bookkeeper and any other hat that I could think of to manage 3 separate companies that I have. I am actually the owner of KC Couture Styles, which is a fashion and interior styling company. I'm the owner of KC Couture Events, which is a full-service event planning company. And then last but not least, I'm the owner of Embellished by KC Couture, which is a small gift and apparel boutique. In addition to owning my 3 companies, I'm also a consultant with the Container Store. I do all of their professional organizing and meeting with clients for them. So I am excited to be here, and prior to becoming a full-time entrepreneur, I've had this passion since I was 12 and have actually been planning events since I was 15, but my background is in finance and real estate. I was a vice president for banks for 18 years. And so I feel like I have the background and the book sense to now be able to manage my own company. So I'm so excited to be here.
I bet you got the cleanest house in town, too.
Is this working now?
Yeah, okay.
Is this one working?
Yes, now it's working.
Great.
Go ahead, Jim. Jim Comer,
Great.
Comer Communications.
I'm Jim Comer, and when I was in my early 20s, I moved to New York with $100 to become an actor because I wanted to be rich and famous. What I didn't realize is that less than 1% of those who are in the acting profession ever make a living at it. In my best year as an actor, I made $3,300, which put me in the top 10% of the actors that year. You'd think I would have learned, but I didn't. So it took me another 10 years of struggling. But I was writing on the side. I finally left acting when I was 33 and got a chance to have a job in the corporate world for Avon Products, $3 billion company. I was going to write for them. I only had one suit for my job interview. A blue velvet Pierre Cardin number. And that's what I went for my interview with. And they hired me anyway. And I got a chance to work with smart people. And eventually I got a chance to write a speech for the press of the company. And it was a good speech. And then I heard him give it in rehearsal. And how do I say this delicately? It sucked. And so I went up and told him. I said, sir, would you like to be even better? If I'd rehearse with you, I think we could even be. And he said yes. And he got better. And I was a speech coach overnight. I fell into this. And I use that same kind of experience of helping people be who they are as a speech coach, a speech writer, and a speaker on communication skills. My goal is to help people be who they really are. The individual that we often hide and don't let come with us. I treasure your individuality and help you find it and use stories and anecdotes to come alive as who you really are, not who you think you ought to be in front of a group. The other thing I do is, my other company, as my friend here would tell me, is when I was 51 and living in LA and having a successful life, both of my parents got ill. My father had a stroke and my mother had early Alzheimer's. I was an only child. I got the call and I had to give all that up and move back to Texas after 30 years to be a caregiver for 14 years. And so that led to a book, a DVD, and a speech on the joys and jolts of caregiving, which is a great passion of mine. In fact, Ilene and her mother were there the day 10 years ago when I taped my video. And here we are again today. So it's great to be with you.
Thank you so much, Jim. And he just mentioned Ilene Haddad. Ilene Haddad, graphic design. Take it away, Ilene.
Hi, I'm Ilene. These people are going to make me look so bad.
Not true.
But Kandi advised me to tell a little anecdote that might be helpful to kind of warm me up. So apparently when I was 3 or 4 years old, I took a leaf and I drew a head on it, and my mother told me I was a genius, and here I am.
I love that. That's great.
So, but there was a little bit in between. But I grew up here in Austin. I went to UT. Hook 'em. And then I have been doing graphic design for 25 years, and the last 17 of which have been on my own as a small business owner. So on this side, I have started an annual conference for Central Texas bloggers called Blogathon ATX, and then on the side again, I draw a webcomic of my family, which is how I get back at them for any infringement that they. So, and that's called Casa Weenie. So, but mainly I'm here as a graphic designer.
Very good. Thank you, Ilene. My name is Ron Oliveira. I was born and reared down South Texas, Brownsville, Texas. Came up here, University of Texas, and got my degree in radio, television, and film. I had no intentions of being in front of the camera. I wanted to go off to California. I wanted to be a director. That was the heyday, the golden age of television with All in the Family and Maude and the Jeffersons and those things. And I wanted to direct TV shows. I wanted to punch the buttons and call the shots and tell the actors what to do. And I thought that was a blast. But coming from my particular background, my culture down in South Texas, I didn't really have any mentors to teach me that way, to go out there and make that big break. I wasn't willing to go out and wait on tables until somebody discovered me or I got that dream job. So all of a sudden, I got thrown in front of the camera. My hair was down to my shoulders. I started working for the news department, and that's when hairstylists came into play, okay? I went to the hairstylist 3 times in 1 week, to be presentable on TV. And it became a passion. But it wasn't just the news that was a passion, it was everything about television, how putting all the pieces of the puzzle together to make things fit and to make things work. Not just the news, but the promotion of the TV station, what kind of shows were going to work and be attractive to people and so on. So I did continue with my news career, and I came up to Austin, but then also had an opportunity to be part of an ownership group, and eventually, to make a very long story short, we started KNVA TV, Channel 54. We started off as the WB, remember, with the dancing frog? Yeah, back in 1994, and we housed ourselves within KXAN, and I started doing the news for KXAN and then managing my station also during the day. And then a few years later, some folks from my home area asked me to help them put a TV station on in the Rio Grande Valley, and we started up from scratch a brand new Telemundo TV station. I was traveling back and forth, and my health was not good. I come from a family of heart disease, and so my blood pressure was through the roof, and I said, give up all the big TV dreams and the ownership of this particular station and come back, and I came back to do the news and had a blast doing it again. I think when I hit my late 40s, early 50s, all of a sudden I felt like a kid again. The passion of why I got into this particular business. Didn't feel that in my 30s and early 40s, but late 40s, 50s, I really did. And then went and worked for KI until 2 years ago, and got a shock. Never did this happen, but they did not renew my contract. And I wondered why when we had just tied for first. But you know how corporate America is now too, they didn't want to pay my salary anymore. Okay? And so be it. But maybe at the same time it was God telling me something. You've been living in your comfort level for a long time. You've had a good life. Time to go do something else. And the natural segue was into public relations. And when I hooked up with my partner is Jeff Hahn. Many of you all may know a strong businesswoman here in town by the name of Carrie Tate. She's been in Austin for a long time. This was her firm of public relations, Tate Austin, and my partner Jeff Hahn took it over. And when we started talking, and I talked to others because I just felt that was going to be natural, dealing with the media, press releases, getting people publicity, how do you do a story and all that? And I said, well, that's PR. And so Jeff told me, he says, with your background, your capabilities, your experience, why don't you start your own firm? And that's what this was, Oliveira Public Communications. So I'm housed within his firm. We're at 4200 Marathon, full-fledged public relations. We do it all, have all sorts of different clients, Whataburger, Central Health, Whole Foods. We do media training. We all went to Sacramento, and I trained cheese professionals for Whole Foods on how to be on TV. It's a real serious thing here, too. It's just like, a sommelier for, with wine. They got to know. They do that blind smelling test of cheese and where it came from and this and that. So they got to pass a test. So we trained them. We trained 50 cheese professionals. I helped Raymond Vasquez back there with Texas Showcase Roofing to give a free roof away. I also managed all the media relations for Steve Adler for mayor. And that was really fun because for the first time I was on the other side of politics, And it was really interesting dealing with political consultants and what they knew or didn't know about the media, and when a story will be done, and why it wasn't done, and when to hold a news conference, and how to grab them with a press release. How long should that press release be? It's all about timing, and that was an absolute blast. I do handle the work for the Texas Bankers Association, the state of Texas, and we're dealing with the legislature right now and lobbying for particular bills going on. So it's the whole gamut, and it's been a blast. I've been doing this for a year and a half, and I look forward to even more things in the future. So today's topic is freelancing and consulting. And I brought some interesting figures here because this is really amazing. And I think this is probably what drew a lot of you all here, if you all aren't in business already. 53 million Americans now freelance. That's what a new study finds. Okay? More than 1 in 3 workers are now freelancing, according to the most comprehensive survey of the U.S. independent workforce in nearly a decade. The 53 million Americans who are freelancing already contribute more than $700 billion to our national economy and help U.S. businesses compete and find the skills that they need. We want to find out what the skills you all needed to get your all's businesses going, and what happened and how these folks can learn, and then they'll have a chance and opportunity to ask questions later. And we're going to have a fun time this afternoon. So first question, getting your start as a freelancer. Have you ever been employed by someone else to perform the kind of work that you're currently doing? Anybody can start.
Yes.
Okay, more than yes, Ilene. I know you're nervous.
Yes, I have done it for, I guess for about 8 years. I was a professional designer in more of a corporate setting, and it taught me many things. First of all, it taught me how to use the skills I had developed or learned about when I was being educated, when I was at UT. And it also helped me with the other skills that they don't teach you in college, such as office politics and how to control your ego and, to play well with others. So it was a really great learning opportunity to just get my basic skills down and then to get those other soft skills down. And there are very few people I know who have gone straight from education into having their own business. And while it can be done, I think that I would not have had that success had I not had some experience in quote-unquote the real world. Because believe me, working for yourself it's not real sometimes.
I definitely agree. One of my primary companies is event planning, and I've always found a way, even though that was not my corporate job, anytime we had an event or when I first started with Capital One Bank, we didn't have any here. We had acquired Hibernia. So each opportunity to open a new location was an opportunity to do event planning, to plan the grand opening and who would our customer base be. But I definitely would have to agree with Ilene that it was more so dealing with difficult customers, customer service, period, bookkeeping, all of the things that are essential to running a successful business. The things of the day-to-day aspects and the operations of, our jobs in corporate America is really what has prepared me to take each of these businesses and start them and be able to move them to the next level.
For me, those 4 years at Avon were absolutely essential because I started off with 0 corporate experience. The speech writing came 3 years in, and it was amazing. Before, I'd been a sales meeting writer for 500,000 Avon ladies. That was the audience. They were my mother times 500,000. So I knew them and I liked them. And a lot of those guys in New York really didn't respect the people they were writing for. But I did. I loved them. They were my people. So when I started writing speeches and I was coaching these executives, all of a sudden, I was being treated different, completely differently. All of a sudden, I was an important person. I noticed the change instantly. And I realized that, if you're dealing with the big guys, you're going to be you have to play on their level, and you have to understand that level. And so that made me reassess everything, and it made me value myself. I was no different before or after those speeches, right? But I valued myself more. And then we had a big, giant event where we brought Bob Hope. Remember Bob Hope? He was the most famous comedian of the last century. He came in for one night, black tie event, and I wrote a monologue from Bob Hope and had it on the teleprompter. It was about all the things that upset this audience that I knew so well. It was all their stuff. And he didn't understand one of the jokes. But he told me that he would do the first one if he got a laugh. He would do the whole monologue. Thank God the first one got a laugh. He did the monologue. It was the biggest hit of this entire conference. And it made me feel like, yes, when you bring something extra to the table, when you take the initiative to do it, nobody told me I could do that. I learned that taking initiative is so important. And that hearing that monologue 25 years ago is one of the happiest 5 minutes of my life.
Well, we all like to be our own boss. What was the catalyst that made you say, okay, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to make a living for myself. I'm going out on my own.
You mentioned a shop And that was my situation. You know, my business was always a hobby. You know, I made money doing it. People paid me to do it. I loved doing it, and I had a passion. But I questioned whether I could replace my income, whether I could feed my family with this passion that I had. You know, it's great to do it on the side, but will it bring in enough money? And what about insurance? And what about that false, you know, stability? Well, I got sick. I woke up one day and I couldn't walk. And the company in corporate America who I had paid into, they took money out of my paycheck every 2 weeks. I made sure for short-term disability. They denied it. This company that I showed up for work and I was there and I took the initiative and I did all these great things, they said, thank you. And so I was left having to find a way. So why not? So then I put my own plan into action, the same initiative, the same perseverance, the same dedication, the same passion that I gave to corporate America. How about I give it to myself and reap my own benefits and my own rewards? How about I be my own cheerleader, rah-rah for myself? And so I then, in turn, took that same drive, same determination, and started and changed my mindset. I learned my worth. And I took a hobby and turned it into a business and made other people treat it as such. And so because of that situation, as unfortunate as it was, I decided to not make it into a bad thing, but to make it positive. So my illnesses, I say I have them, but they don't have me. And that's what really got me to this point.
Sure.
Okay.
So I don't want to follow you. I guess the catalyst for me was, as so many times the catalyst is for me, was I was having a really bad week. That was my catalyst. I got out of bed one day and I was like, you know, I can have a crappy job for no pay and I don't have to even leave the house. So I was like, why not? You know, it was one of those days and it was a why not kind of a day. Now, I don't recommend doing it that way. I think there are better ways you could do it, and I can certainly advise you on how not to do it, and which I think can be as valuable as how to do something. So I tend to learn things the hard way, but I learn them.
Well, the catalyst for me was when I spent that last year and a half working with the executives. I began working with all these media companies and special event companies, and I saw how much money they were making as consultants as opposed to what I was making on staff that registered. And so about a year later, I still had that show business, I got to be rich and famous thing in me. I'm sorry to say, I'm embarrassed about it, but I thought it was important for me. I had my building had gone co-op, they call it in New York, like condo. I was able to buy in low and sell high, so I moved to California to become a TV writer, because, you know, California was calling for me. Yeah, right. But the good news is Avon kept me on. They liked what I did. For 9 years, they used me as a consultant while I did not succeed as a comedy writer. But I did succeed as a speechwriter and speech coach on both coasts. And so obviously that is where I was meant to be. It just took me a while to accept what God had in store for me. And you know, I agree completely with Ilene. We learn as much from the mistakes as we do for the victories. And I make it a big point in my speeches. I always lead with vulnerability, because that way the audience can connect. I tell my clients, don't just tell them how great you are, tell them how you screwed up. And then what did you do? Because that's what all of us want to know.
Okay, so what are the first steps to take? I want to go out on my own. What do I do?
Stock up on ramen noodles and ketchup packets.
Good.
Amen.
I tell the truth.
You know, that's such a inflated question, because I don't think that, I know for myself, I didn't do it the right way. You know, now that I know better, they say hindsight is 20/20, and when you know better, you do better, all those great things. But I was excited, I was tired, corporate America had kicked me out, and so guess what? I sent an email out and said, hey, I'm an event planner. Bring me some business. I gave a couple people discounts. I needed to build my portfolio. I didn't have a logo. I hadn't gone down to the Secretary of State and filed my LLC. I hadn't contacted an attorney. I hadn't done any of those things. And before I knew it, I had 10 paying clients. And they said, well, who should I write the check to? And I'm thinking, oh, God. I didn't think about that. So When I got to the second business, I understood that there were the proper way to do things, to come up with a business plan. Now, mind you, these are all things I taught people at the bank. Be prepared, be wise, have money saved, don't make any harsh decisions, rash decisions. I just didn't study that. So, when I got to the second company, I learned. I had a business plan. I had consulted with an attorney. I had a name, I had a logo, and I had a little bit of money set aside to be able to pay for these things.
Well, I didn't do any of the right things. I got to California. I did not have a business plan. I did not know anybody out there. I did not, I'd really, kind of an artsy as opposed to more, I wish when she said I was a vice president of a bank, and I would love to say those words, but they'd be a lie. I didn't know any of that for about 10 years. I just kind of had this one big client. I found a few out there, and I kept doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing, which was being a comedy writer, but it didn't happen. But one client led to another client, even despite the fact that I wasn't marketing the way I should do, because I didn't know about that, and I didn't know a lot of stuff, but word of mouth really is the best. If you do good work and they like you, somebody's going to hear about it or see it. And I was lucky. And then I found a client, Shackley, big nutrition company. I got them, and that was a 6-year client out there, which I happened to get there just as they got a new CEO who was terrified of speaking. Yay! Because I helped him become a decent speaker. In fact, he became president of the San Francisco Chamber of Commerce. This guy who couldn't speak 1 year, 2 years later, he was president of the Chamber of Commerce. So I was lucky. I just stumbled my way through.
I think that's how. The one thing I had when I started was a logo.
I didn't know no logo.
So, I had a logo. I did not have a business plan. I had nothing else, but I had the logo, damn it. But I also was lucky because my former employer basically paid me to go away. He's like, you are not cut out for this. You're a great designer. Take this work and do it on contract. And I was lucky, but luck is not a great strategy, so I don't recommend going with that. If you happen to be lucky, though, I do recommend you take advantage of it because you won't always be. And sometimes you make your own luck and you take something that maybe isn't working and you turn it into something that can work for you.
Is there a particular elevator pitch, as they ask, that works for you?
Oh, God. Ask Jim.
Absolutely not, because I'm a speaker on 2 different subjects, communication and caregiving. I'm a writer, and I'm a speech coach. You can't get all that in a 30-second reel. So I have to tailor my elevator pitch for that particular audience. What will most of the people in this audience benefit from my skill set, and then I make the pitch for them. But I mean, I've spent 15 years trying to get one. It ain't happening. So I just tailor it, and I think that's key.
Yeah. I find that that's the case as well, depending on what situation or which audience I'm in, because I do 3 different businesses that are, while they work together, they're very diverse. And so depending on what group I'm around, who I'm speaking to, I have an elevator speech, and it's tailored to that clientele.
So tell us each how you all manage your day. How do you prioritize the actual doing versus the administrative duties and cultivating new work?
I am excited to say that finally, after 5 long years in business, I have an assistant. Woo-hoo! Because, yes, I am so blessed. I've gone through so many leaps and bounds, and as Ron mentioned earlier, you're your own everything, and you have to do it, because if you want it done and need it done, no one else is there to do it, and you don't have the money. I don't care how many contracts we have or clients we have, you just don't have the money to pay someone. So I've gotten interns, I've gotten other people, but I'm just now to the place where I have someone who can take away the administrative duties, because I believe in the 80-20 rule that we spend more of our time doing things that are not making us money. Well, now I have someone to assist me with those duties, and I'm telling you, in the time that she's been with me, I've made more money since she's been there than I have in the past year.
That gives
It's
me
huge.
hope to carry on.
It does.
Here's the deal. I'm going to be real honest here. I'm a real good talent. You know, they call it talent, right? I'm good at talent. I mean, I can do the speaking, I can do the coaching, I can do that stuff. I am not a good manager, and I have had to struggle, and learn and try to make myself a good manager, and also a good marketer. These are not things that come easy to me. I've got a part-time guy who's good at some of the computer and those kinds of things, but I've still got to be the one to schedule that day and make sure that I put the money-making things, the important things, top of the list, not email, not tweets. What?
What about Facebook?
I got to tell you, and I'm just not a giant Facebook person. I love it if you are. It's just not that I am not. I just, but I do like LinkedIn, though, because LinkedIn allows me to connect on a professional level. I'm never going to tell my deepest, darkest secrets to Facebook, as many people do, and I don't want to. But if those that like it, that's great. So that's not a temptation for me. But emails, oh boy, that could be it. So I need to make sure I'm putting the most important things first. Top of the list with stars by them. Do those now.
I have a similar method, except that it's not what's the most important thing at the top of the list. I'm more of an emotional person. So when I wake up, the thing that's causing me the most anxiety is what gets done that day at the very beginning. And so as my day goes, my anxiety lowers, which is great, because about 3 o'clock, it's nap time, which it's another benefit to working for yourself. But clearly, as you can tell, I don't manage my day the way that they tell you should manage your day. And I'm just, after doing this for 17 years, I'm just getting to the point where it doesn't matter. I've been 17 years later, clearly I've got something going.
Right.
No one else would know what's going on. It would be very hard for me to have an assistant, but I do buy lunch for my mother every month, and she does my receipts for me. So that's me outsourcing. My mom's here right now. So,
Be available
wait.
for others.
You have to buy her a good lunch. But, and then my IT department is my husband, who's also here today. So, you take advantage of what you can. I am, I've read books. I really want to be better organized. I want to be more professional. You're supposed to wake up. You're supposed to get dressed. You work, you go to your office. You don't throw in a load of laundry. You don't get distracted by Law and Order reruns. You don't do those things. Like, you don't. And I do all of those things, all of them. And I'm up at 3 in the morning. Now, I don't have kids, which is awesome on many levels, but especially the way that I schedule my time, in that I don't. Maybe it would help me to have more things. But again, it's, where do you end up at the end of the day? At the end of the day, my clients have no idea what I'm wearing. And that's, it's how you present yourself. I'm lucky. I don't want to go to meetings. I will do every meeting. I don't know the last time I went to a meeting. It was impossible for me to find something to wear today because I go to so few meetings, because everything can be done online now. And my social life is on Facebook, so I'm set for me. But it's finding out what will work for you, and believe me, trying to make something work that won't work, save yourself some time, but give yourself time to figure out what that is. So try the best way that they say is the best way, because that probably is the best way. It just didn't work out that way for me.
I think the key is that it's going to be different for everybody. There is no, I don't care how many books you read. I've gone to every time management seminar. The bank paid for it. And I took advantage of I've had every binder. Okay, I collected them for some time, trying to figure out the best way. And you know what I figured out? There isn't a best way. The best way is the way that works for you. I do love Facebook. It is probably how I make 75% of my money.
Really?
Because I have to catch myself.
Really?
Really.
I
have to catch myself to not get distracted by looking at other people's news feeds and wondering what they're doing, and Facebook stalking, and but I have to use it for the purpose that's intended. On my business page, connecting with people, networking, using LinkedIn. So I think the key is it's going to be different for each and every person. What works for one person may not work for another person, but you've got to figure out what works for you and how you schedule your day. The most important thing for me is what's going to make me money.
You can all see how different we are just on this one thing, and I want to emphasize what both. There isn't a right way. There's your way, done right. And that's the same way with speakers. There's no right way to speak. There's your way, and your way, and your way, and your way. And if you're trying to be somebody else, to sound like somebody else, or look like somebody else, you're going to not be good. Because if it's not real, if it's not you, that authentic person coming out, then it's not going to work.
So now that you're the boss, how do you motivate yourself to stay on task? Are you extremely disciplined about what constitutes your workday, or do you allow yourself flexibility like Law and Order reruns?
Who wants to take that?
Yikes.
Go ahead.
Just thank you.
I think you should.
Thank you. I don't, it is hard to be motivated. You get all the draws of home and all the things, and especially if you work from home. I think I've had it both ways. I've actually had an actual, out-of-home office, and I actually now office from home. Now, the one thing that I do, I get up every day. I get up, I can't work. I have a very good friend who's in this room, I won't point her out, who works in her pajamas. And she's great at it, and she can get work done, and she can work. That is not me. I have to be fully made up. I walk out of my bedroom, and it's like I'm walking into my office. Because for me, that's the start of my day, okay? I don't get, drawn in by TV and things like that. But it is hard to stay motivated. But at the end of the day, I have goals to meet, and I want to be successful. So that equates doing so many things in a day that's going to help me reach my goals, i.e. dollar signs. And so I have to sit there and day by day and week by week, make sure that I'm doing the things, keeping checks and balances to meet the goals that I am setting for myself and my various companies.
Yeah, I agree that the key is knowing what is important that day, that week, and also that quarter. You need to have some planning. I've finally gotten to where I do that. And I do have what's the most important for the week as I look at it. I do have what's important for the day. Now, here's a truth telling, because I said leave with your vulnerability. I tend to like one drug. I only have one drug left in my life. It's called adrenaline. I still like that deadline thing. We were talking about it, Ron. Think what I was doing between 9 and 12:15 last night. Stuff that you might ask me today. I do not recommend that. I cannot recommend it. But the point is, that is what it takes sometimes for me to get in gear. And after all these years of saying I'm not going to do that, I'm still doing it. So obviously, as you said about how you work in the day, it still works for me. I'd like for it to be different. But the adrenaline does get it done. Now, the key would be to put the adrenaline in service of your goals, not in service of something that's off track. Make sure that that energy, that drive, is going for the things that are most important, that will make you money, that will advance your career. And I think that if you do that, you're going to make some progress.
I think that Kandi and I are basically, we're like there's a wormhole between us, and I am the universe of you, because I wake up and I stumble to my desk in my pajamas, and I may get on Facebook, and may finish a job that I started at 3 in the morning. It's a little bit more organic with me. I don't recommend that as a starting point. I came there after a lot of hard work and reading every book and, knowing having every binder, and, I wound up with this. It's not something I'm proud of, and it's like, you don't want to see how the sausage is made. As long as I come out at the end of the day with a beautiful infographic and, my clients raving, then who cares? Nobody has to see. Unfortunately, I don't think I call it adrenaline. I call it anxiety. And
I was trying to be nice.
Well, I'm not nice. I hate it, and I can't help myself. And it really does work until it doesn't. Until that one day when your computer is down, and it's like, I planned 10 minutes. That I knew I had 10 minutes to do this, and my computer doesn't work, and my husband isn't at home, and so. it really does help to give yourself a little more time. And the days that I do wake up and shower and like get dressed, and not that I don't shower, just don't do it first thing in the morning. I'm not a total shut-in, but you know, I have to say, on the days that I have to be somewhere, like today, I really do feel better. I do. And I
also
will
know
probably
she
throughout
is
the day.
really good when she shows up, because 15 years ago,
Oh, God.
Ilene and I had a client that we were pursuing together. I was going to write it, she was going to design it, and this was one of those clients that is a pathological liar. And he was telling us, painting this great picture of what he wanted to do. We had at least 2 meetings with him. He had no money, no way of doing it, and then he disappeared for about a year. So that will happen to you. So I know what she looks like when she's all great and ready to meet the clients. She's terrific.
Well, you touched on it just a little bit about outsourcing some of your administrative tasks. What functions is outsourcing appropriate for?
I think it all depends on the business, you know, number one. And for me, it's not so much as the things, but the person who you're outsourcing to. I think first and foremost, you have to find the right person for the job, okay? A lot of what I do is visual. And so I have to find someone who is going to represent my company and my brand well. And then someone who's competent enough to do what I need. So, you know, I have administrative duties, but my assistant does much more than that. And that was really the blessing in it, is that she is, you know, so diverse. She comes from a accounting background. So, you know, while she started off as my bookkeeper, she has really become my girl fabulous.
Wow. And what else does she do?
I mean, she does my bookkeeping, she's here in the room, she does my social media, she does all of our banking, she contacts all of our clients, she schedules all my consultations. I mean, she makes me eat, she gets my mail, she drives me around.
It's a lot of time.
I mean, but everything that she does frees me up. I didn't, when she said, I'm gonna start driving you around, I'm like, I'm not Miss Daisy, like, really? But, because it made me feel, you know, I felt like I don't want to become, you know, I don't think I'm above anybody, and I can drive myself, but I get it. I can't tell you how productive I am in the passenger seat. You know, I mean, just a 20-minute drive, I'm able to return phone calls and contact people. And so it started making sense to me, everything that she has taken off my plate, and I am really free. And also, and if you don't have the money, you know, I had people assist me before. I outsourced interns. You know, Texas State, UT, every school here in Austin has people in your field who need hours. So there are multiple ways to outsource and to find people to do those various tasks, whatever it needs to be. Other than actually going and seeing my clients and closing a deal, that's something that I don't know I'll ever give away. But I think with the right person, I know that they can assist me with some of those tasks.
I know that. Oh, go ahead, please.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to comment on the reason you go into business oftentimes is to do the thing that you love to do. And then you find out that oftentimes you only get to do that maybe 15% of the time, and the rest of the time is running a business. So when you do want to outsource something, it helps for it to be something, A, that you maybe don't love as much. And since you don't love it, you may not be as good at it, and certainly not as productive at it. I tend to keep just the design stuff. I mean, I have to do a lot of my own stuff. My husband, believe me, he does most of the paperwork just for legal reasons. It's probably safer that way. And then, of course, there's my mom. She drove me here today, so I have a driver, too. It's mostly because I hate parking. But I think that outsourcing the things that are taking time away from your money and your talent, that's what I would outsource.
Yeah, I like what both of them seem to have. I would like that mom and that, you know, that person that can do it. And I'd love to have your assistant, but I'm kind of in between. I've got someone who's doing my books, and I want you to know that my taxes are going in tomorrow. First time in history this early, because I got a bookkeeper who's good. I've got someone that works part-time for me on computer things, because this is not my strength. Again, I wish it was my strength, but it just isn't, never gonna be. So I've got somebody good there. But I need that full-time, and that's one of my goals for the next year or two. And I've got a web guy, does a good job on that. But having that person really can make a difference, and not having them makes it much more on you. So that is my next big goal. Because I also see in the speaking business, there's so many speakers who their significant other does all that stuff for them. I see it over and over and over again. It's a team effort, and that's great. And if you can hire it, that's wonderful. But you need to find that person, and it's not easy. You may have to go through a number of people. And the person that's working with me right now he's really good in some things, and really not in others. And so I'm not sure if that relationship's going to stay. So but I'm looking for that next step forward that you all have taken.
So having a good work-life balance is often a driver for becoming an entrepreneur. So how do you achieve the right amount of work versus having too much work sometimes and too little at other times?
Yeah, that's false. There is no, as you said earlier, there is no such thing as balance. I remember searching and thinking I was going to have a nervous breakdown because I couldn't figure it out. You know, how do you find to give time to your family but not to neglect your work? Well, I think that when you're an entrepreneur, you're just trying to get it going. And, you know, I've flip-flopped between the two. You know, having no days off to, you know, being slow and trying to find business. So I think the key here, once again, every business is going to be different. I know the things that are important to me. So Sunday, for instance, is my Sabbath day. Right. Now, it didn't always be that way. It was not always that way. However, now, come heck or high water, I'm not taking a call from a client on Sunday. And I had to program myself to not sneak in there and look at the computer or check my email or Facebook or those things. So you have to find the work-life balance or lack thereof that works for you. But the beauty of being an entrepreneur is setting your own schedule. And so I don't start working before 9 o'clock. You know, I would work all hours of the night, and I don't have any little ones, so I can do that. But, you know, I found that I was really taken away from myself. And so I don't have the traditional schedule, but the beauty is...
Taking a call, guys, excuse me. And I checked, and I want you to know I checked this.
How rude.
But not well, not well.
So the point of all of this, turn your cell phones off in important meetings, is that, you know, I don't think that perfect work-life balance ever exists as an entrepreneur, but you have to find the balance that works for you in your situation, you know, based off of your circumstances.
Now, what just happened to me, we're going to do a little speech coaching here. That is the kind of thing that is going to happen to you when you're up speaking, isn't it? Unexpected thing. You can either regard that as a tragedy, or you can just deal with it and go, I'm human, like you, right? So it's not a big deal. Work-life balance, I agree with everything you said. There, you know, it's going to be like this. Yep. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be, and there are going to be times when you have the problems of plenty. I love those problems. That means there's so much going on, you can barely do it all. I love that. But then there's going to be deserts if you're in there. There's going to be little Arabias and, you know, the sands and not full enough. So the goal, obviously, is to try to keep it so that you have stuff coming in all the time. That doesn't always happen. I'm also with you on Sundays. I go to a wonderful church, and I started singing in the choir 2 years ago. Wednesday nights, I'm at that choir rehearsal, no matter what. And when I am singing, and copying the guy next to me who can do harmony and I can't, and I'm 1/16 of a second afterwards because I'm copying him, and I'm singing, and all of a sudden that stress is singing out of me. And on Sunday mornings, the same thing happens. And I also work with a lobbying group called Results, which is a citizens lobby that works to help preventable childhood diseases in third world countries, and we're behind the vaccination of 500 million children will happen through an organization in the coming years. And I actually lobbied on Capitol Hill for like 10 years and gone to see congressmen to work for funding for this group. And that feeds my soul. Because I can't do anything about most of those headlines that make me so angry, but I can do something for Results that is going to save millions of lives. So when I do the things that feed me, I'm better at doing the work that I'm feeding others with. That makes sense? It's got to be there.
Well,
What? You gave me this look.
I don't know. Well, I'm a heathen, pagan
Oh.
atheist, so Fridays are my Sabbath, and I call them Hunker Down Fridays, and I don't have meetings on Fridays. That's my time to myself. Now, I am working during most of that time when I'm not watching my
Law and Order.
or
We all know that.
NCIS, but hey, everybody's got their thing. No, I do not go to church on Sundays, but I will often work on Sundays. And Fridays, my husband and I have, he often doesn't follow the rules, but the rule is be home by 2. I will not be out in traffic during that time. I will not be making plans during that time. I will be relaxing in front of my TV with my laptop, and I will be working. Now, sometimes, and I have a hard time with this, a lot of my work comes from social media. That is my networking tool. But tell that to my husband when I'm on there, drawing cartoons of him doing stuff, and, it's like, how is that business related? There's a fine line. So again, if you're disciplined, you don't have to worry so much. I have to worry to make sure I'm focused. But again, I have my my own way of dealing with balance, and that is called, anxiety. If Friday afternoon I'm not feeling any anxiety, then party, it's the weekend. If I am, then I know, okay, this week is going to be extended, and I will be working through the weekend. But I wouldn't change it for the world. I love what I do, and I don't mean in this like, yay, it's always great. No, it sucks sometimes. But the part I love the most is that I get to, obviously, clearly I'm making a living. It's hard to believe, if you just met me, you'd be like, how is she? If she can, then certainly I can. But, I'm much more successful this way than I was before. And I didn't really get canned or anything. It's just that it was clear to everybody that I belonged somewhere else to do good work. I mean, I do good work, but the way it gets there, again, sausage, do not want to see it made.
How much time do you all spend on the computer? Either doing work or social media, which is also work.
18 hours a day, easy.
Yeah, I'm with,
Easy.
If I'm, the only time I'm not on the computer is when I'm sleeping. We
Yeah.
have a rule that in my house, there's no electronics in the bedroom. So that's probably the only room, because I typically have my phone in the bathroom. So that's, I know it sounds crazy, but, and I could be listening to music, but more often than not, because it's always attached to me, it's very rare that I don't have my phone.
I understand.
Yeah, so.
You saw the phone go off. You see my relationship to the phone. That's the way I'm on the computer a lot because I'm a writer and an editor, and I'm often calling clients. I'm on the computer a lot. My thing is not Law and Order, it's the New York Times, because I lived in New York and I fell in love with that newspaper, and I still read it. I'm still somebody that reads newspapers. I mean, I know that's a rare commodity, but I'm on computer when I have to be. I don't love all the social media. I'm getting to love it. I've got a new relationship. I'm building this relationship. We're in the courting stage right now. I want to be in the full-fledged, I'm in love with social media stage, and I hope that happens soon. And maybe I'll learn from my friend here.
Yeah, you don't.
No, I don't know.
Believe me, there is time wasted. I'm not, it's easy to get sucked in.
I agree, but my wife will sometimes, you're on Facebook again? And it's not just because I want to see other pictures of other people's kids or this or that or what. It's always learning something. It's always promoting something, too. I could be nice and say that it's because I like Raymond Vasquez back there, too, which I do, but I was trying to help him also give a free roof away, to somebody in need. So if you put it, I put it always in the context, hey, man, I ran into Raymond, and guess what Texas Showcase Roofing is doing? They're giving a free roof away to a needy person. Submit an application to somebody that you know. So I was doing a service, to the community, which is always good. That's always something to consider, too. Here's the biggest thing that I've always learned, especially when I came, doing the news. We'd go out and interview some Politico. We'd go out and interview some business. They always, or the majority of the time, because they've got so much invested in, it's about them. It's about them. It's about them. And I said, that's nice, but we don't really care about you. We care about our viewers. What benefit does the viewer get from this? And the same thing with our business here. What does your customer, how is your customer and their customers going to benefit from all of this? Yes, I would love for Raymond to be the #1 roofing company here in town. He's going to get there just by doing what he is doing right now. The benefits will pay off, but give it back to the customer. Give it back to the community. Somebody mentioned to me the other day, there's a hamburger place here, Pete Terry's, very popular, okay? They have some kind of thing where they got portions of their proceeds, were donated to this particular charity. I mean, it came out to maybe $20,000, $30,000. That's a lot of money. But I mean, we're not talking United Way money of $500,000 or $1 million or anything like that. They partnered with an Austin American-Statesman on something just very simple. And they got their name out there for donating $20,000 to a charity. I mean, lots of people can do that too. Figure out the tie-ins. So a lot of the time, that's why my wife will go by and I'll kick out of Facebook to put it on the Austin American-Statesman, And she goes, I know what you're really doing, But I do that with others. I just check my phone right now. And one of the biggest things that I have learned as an entrepreneur is people still, it's the number one thing. What have you learned about being a public relations professional? Number one, at the very, very top, still at the very, very top to this day, everybody still wants everything free from me. Everything. They don't value my words. They don't value my ideas. They do, and they run, and they take them, and they benefit from them, but I have to pay you for that? You mean I have to pay you to call the news department at KVUE to ask them to cover the story? I can do that. My secretary can do that. Go for it. Go for it. Every time. And same thing. I can send out a press release. Go for it. Try it. How's the angle? What are you going to put there? What's the spin on it? And when they don't come cover you, then what? But as I said, well, I said, how much does your lawyer charge you? It says $300 an hour. So what is that lawyer giving you? Words, advice, ideas. Why are you paying them, but you can't value these things that are really going to promote your business and get you results? So when you go out and you come up with, especially your marketing plan, because you can do all the things that you want to do, but here's Raymond. He's a small business owner. He reached out. He knew he couldn't do all these things on your own, where you have to go out and outsource. I can't do graphics like Ilene. I'm not going to pretend to. I can come up with a good idea for the brand or for the logo like I did for the city of Brownsville. It's a big campaign, but I can't do the graphics. I don't want to sit there at the computer and write that entire plan myself. I'd rather have somebody do that so I can be out on the street selling. Okay? And so that's the biggest thing that I always tell people too, is that at the very beginning, everybody's still going to want everything from you for free. I used to MC all the time, different things, banquets, charities, and all that, which of course I love to do, and I will still do those. But I went to an MC, a real fancy thing, and I won't mention the group's name, but when, and the friend who recruited me said, Ron, can you MC this banquet? It's going to be a real nice affair, blah, blah, blah. And I said, how much? Dead silence on the other side of the phone. What do you mean how much? I thought you did this for free. And I said, I used to, but this is my job now. I've got to make a living. I said, so tell me, what's the event? And he said, oh, it's this fancy affair to honor these people and these awards and all that. Oh, okay, where's it being held? San Marcos. Oh, okay. What time do you need me there? Well, can you come the day before for a rehearsal? Okay, all right. And I just listened. And then the next day, can you be there at 3:30 in the afternoon? Of course, rush hour, okay? So I went at 3:30. By the time I got home, it was 11 at night. $40 in gas and all my hours. I got in there, fancy tablecloths, open bar with all the fanciest liquor. I mean, your flowers in the middle, that must have cost $500, $600 a piece, $1,000. And I go like, they don't value me. And the thing is, you know what? I can make or break their event. I could make it boring as hell, Right. And I would never, ever do that. So it's like a paradigm shift for some of these folks to value what you have. And so they may know that you've done this all your life. You talk for a living, yeah, but I've still got to make a living too at the same time.
I want to say amen to that, because that will happen. And do not let them do that to you. You know, there's always going to be that client that will say, you know, I don't have any budget, but you are going to meet so many people there that could hire you. It's going to be really worth your time.
Networking
Yeah,
opportunity.
great opportunity. They're lying. They're probably lying. But you just have to know when to say yes and when to say no. Now, I speak on caregiving, the other thing I speak on, and that is my passion. Because I wrote a book, and it helps so many of these people. In fact, Eileen's mom, and over there when I did my DVD. And she told me on the way in today that it helped her get through her caregiving. And I have a soft spot there, and they can spot it a mile away. I'll do this keynote, and it's good, and it's funny, and it's different, but they know I want to give it. They can feel it, and they will not, because it's not a hard subject. Leadership, sales, they know that the joys and jolts of caregiving should be, you know, for us, it should be for free, right? No, it's valuable, just like you said.
And I think also, people think, oh, I can do that. It's easy. Well, no, you make it look easy. That's the difference, is that what you do, people may think it's just nothing to you because it's so easy. Well, yeah, it took me 25 years to make this look so easy.
And you can do it so fast, and you
Right.
can do all those things.
Exactly.
But it's results. Last night, we went, my wife and I, we got out late, and I said, let's go have some Thai food. We went to this place, Thai Passion. I think they moved from downtown, and now they're up on 183 near Anderson Mill. And the owner greeted us and all that, and then they hadn't gotten their wine license, so we could take our bottle in. So, you know. And he says, Ron, I said, yes, nice to meet you, Gene. And I said, God. And it was a fabulous, fabulous meal. The power of social media. I just checked. I just put it on close to midnight last night, and I put my pineapple fried rice and my green curry, all that, and got a picture with him. It's already got 128 likes and 24 comments. You know, something simple like that in less than 24 hours. People haven't even started seeing it yet, you know, but they're all going. They're all going. That's free. That's here for you all to do. Just like what we did with Raymond. We tweeted the heck out of his roof giveaway. Now that he's gotten the winners, we're going to let people know who's going to get the free roof. And it just keeps building more goodwill, and he gets his name out there constantly. Use Twitter. Use Facebook, folks. Use them as much as possible. Ready for questions now. Who'd like to go first? I'll come to you so we have your... Go ahead.
And just in addition, people don't want to pay lawyers either.
Yeah. Oh.
There's always a quick question that's never quick.
That's why you're a counselor. Yeah.
Surely along the path you've had a few obstacles or encountered maybe some downside or negative. How did you get through it, and how did you know that it was an obstacle through which you had to persevere versus it was leading you down another path?
We kind of talked about that this morning, and you know, it's part of life, and I think it's about for me, it's attitude. You know, you can't control other people, but you can control your response to them, and that's not just cliche in words. It's how I look at everything. You know, I know that I love what I do, and while I could do it for free, I don't choose to, and so not all money is good money. Not all clients are for me. Some say that I'm too expensive. Well, no, I'm just not for you. And I'm okay with that. But when things happen, I don't look at it as a negative. What can I learn from this? And then what do I need to do to get past it? I don't dwell on it. I don't sit there and, let it destroy me. I figure out what lesson is to be learned and then pick myself up and move to the next thing.
And you don't really, you don't know that's what you don't know. So every time you run into something, you can't, until it's hindsight, you can't appreciate how much you'll learn from it. But some of the worst, most scarring things that have happened to me in business have been the best. In hindsight, believe me, I would not want to relive it, but it has helped me. Those things have helped me more than sometimes some of the positive lessons that you get. So if it's any consolation, bad stuff's going to happen, and move on. And you got to move on, because if you let that stop you, you're the only thing that can keep you going. When you're working a regular job, your boss is going to keep you going. You are your boss, so are all of your clients, but that's another story.
Yeah, I would also go back to those main goals, the ones that you're in the business for, the things you love. It is easy when you're your own boss and you look at the bank account, which I do more often than I'd like, and you see it's not maybe where you want it to be, or the calendar has more holes than you want it to be, and somebody offers you something that really isn't where you want to go, but it might be good money. I was offered 2 ghostwriting things for personal memoirs from really rich ladies, and I took them. And my business plan went off this way. And it took me months and months and months to get those done. I did a good job. They were happy. But I wasn't going this way. I wasn't moving ahead. I don't do ghostwriting anymore for that. I'm not going to do that. It's not where I want to be. But you have to make the mistake and realize, oh, I just lost 8 months. So
Here?
Yeah, I want to kind of piggyback on that, Brian Marshall with the Greater Austin Black Chamber of Commerce. And to Jim's point, the question for the panel and for you too, Ron, how did you make the determination of how you valued your services? Meaning, how you priced it? Did you go with a value-based and said, hey, based on the outcome that I give you, it's going to be based on that? Or did you just go ahead, set a fee, or just, hey, until I found the right amount? How did you value the price of your service?
Good question.
You know, in the very beginning, I was just so happy to be out of corporate America. You got $5, I'll take it. Great. But then you realize that there was no value in that, because I'm going to give the same amount of work, 110%. Well, you know, you work, and then you look and you're tired and you don't have anything to show for it. And this is what I left corporate America for. At least they were giving me a paycheck. And so to answer your question, that had to evolve. And at some point in time, I realized that it was word of mouth, as we mentioned. People were coming for me. And so apparently they liked what I did. And even recently, my good friend that's here said, you aren't charging enough. And I'm thinking, what? I looked at my competition. I thought I was doing really good, and I felt like I was doing well for myself. And then it took me to another milestone. So now it is value-based. It is, you know what, based off of what I'm giving you and what you're asking for, I think that what I'm charging is very much in line with that. Now, do we have a little bit of wiggle room? Absolutely. But I feel very positive and confident that I'm really giving them everything and then some of what they're paying for.
for me, when I was in California, my clients out there knew my value because I'd had long-term relationships. So it was much easier for me to charge what I was worth where I'd proven it over and over again. And in California, the truth is they pay higher. They just charge more. And then I came to Texas to take care of my parents almost overnight, knowing nobody, having no clients here that knew my value. And boy, things went down. It's taken me years to move back up to where that value is key. In my communications business, it's easier. In the caregiving thing, it is harder because they just don't understand that this is important and it's valuable. And I have to try to help them understand that. But it is difficult. It's not an easy thing.
And I think it depends on what industry you're in. And in my industry, it's either it's a per project or per hour. I made a decision I'm not doing per hour. And then it's kind of like, well, what the market will bear. You get good at it after doing it. You know, once you've been doing it for a while, you start to know what's right, you know, what works. I use my barometer is if I start to resent my client, I'm not charging enough. So,
That's good.
Because I will I'm happy to work with, you can be demanding, you can make me work horrible hours, and if I'm charging you enough, I am happy to do it. And when I start feeling a little bit put upon, that's my sign, and I'll know better next time. Or, you know, if it goes beyond the scope of the project, being very specific about what you are providing will help, because then you can say, I'm going to do this much for this much, and if you go here, this is what we're looking at. The main thing is just to communicate and to always tell people. Don't surprise them with that extra 20 hours you worked on. Say, hey, guess what? You're here. This is where you are. You need to make some decisions. And as long as you're completely open about that, you can't fail. At least that's been my experience. What?
I love what she said. I'm going to create a resent-o-meter.
Or you know what?
Because I just had to fire a client who was already getting a gigantic discount for me to come
That
all
D
the way to
word.
Lubbock to do the morning keynote. And then they sent me the program. They had me on for 3 hours in the afternoon. That wasn't part of the deal.
Every job you should buffer in a PITA fee.
Who? Peter fee?
You'll get that when you get home. A PITA.
That is, can we put that on City of Austin television? A pain in the fee.
Oh, yeah.
The asset is what I say in certain situations. And you do that because you love what you do, but you do get some clients who push you to the umpteenth degree. And when you know that you've charged accordingly, as Ilene said, it doesn't matter. You know, you get it. And it's okay if they run you around and you got to go back 15 times, but you know that you've charged accordingly and you're not losing your passion and your drive for what you're designed to do.
I'm with all of the above here. And when I ran the mayor's campaign, I set a high hourly rate, but I knew I was going to be of service because at the same time, this was my starting candidate. I'd never run a political campaign like this before. So my accountant came in at the end of each month, and because we turned in hours, and he says, you were only supposed to give him this amount of hours. You should have billed them 4 times the amount every single month. But he won. He won. And that's what I had to prove to others too. So yes, they got a lot of value out of that. And you're going to find that with all my clients too, it's the same way. You figure out how many hours it's going to take a month to do their particular job. And then you end up doing 2 to 3 times as much.
Yes.
But they're happy.
Yesterday, a client of mine who I've just helped edit a book that he's going to do, a sales book. I wasn't writing it, but I was editing. He sent me his final version of his story. And I disagreed with some of his decisions. And because I'm close enough to this guy, I spent some time yesterday afternoon when I should have been preparing for this, and I told him the truth about several key points in his book that he didn't want to hear. And I said, and I told him, I said, now, you're not going to like this, but this is what I really believe. And this morning, I got this thank you email. I'm going to use the stuff you told me because I was honest, whether he liked it or not. And I'm sure that's true with you in the campaign. If you're honest with them and tell them what they need to hear, even if they don't want to hear it, then you are going to be much more valuable and respected.
We have a question right here.
Hi, I'm Emily Leach. I'm the founder of the Texas Freelance Association. And yeah.
Yay.
So one of the big questions I get a lot from my freelancers is, how do you pull in your boundaries? You know, you get these what we call clients from heck. And yeah, you put the PITA fee, you put all that in, but there's still boundaries where you got to pull in. They keep wanting to push and push. So how do you guys handle yours? I've got my ways, but I'd like to hear yours.
For me, it is reinforcing them from day one. You know, I've learned the hard way. And so, you know, I've had those clients that text you at 3 o'clock in the morning. And especially when I wear my event hat, because I do a lot of corporate events or a lot of weddings, you know, everything is a fire. And so, you know, 3 months before the wedding, it's a fire. No, it's not. It's a fire the day of. But for me, it is putting those tools and resources in place and starting from the very beginning. So when we have the consultation, I let them know Monday through Friday. You know, I let them know my day off. I let them know at 6 o'clock, my business day is ended. So, you know, if you leave me a message on Friday, you might not get a return call till Monday. And then when they call me on the weekend, they say, you know, I tell them on Monday, I know I saw you called me on Saturday, but as I told you back months ago, you know, it's that reinforcement. The flip side to that with social media is very few of my clients are my Facebook friends or otherwise. And they've tried to use that. They see me on Facebook, and so they call me. And then they call me, and I don't answer, so they text me. And I've had to step away and set the boundaries that, you know what, I saw you called me. I'm not ignoring you. However, you wanted to talk about business, and I'm now on my personal time. So it is really reinforcement, and communication is key, and not letting people overstep those boundaries. I'm not afraid to correct them. And if they do it once or do it twice, and then we may have to have a conversation. I think you're taking advantage of this situation, even though that I've told you. And there's going to be an exception to every rule. But I think more often than not, when you tell people, they really understand, you know, what you're saying and what you're asking for them. It's setting expectations.
And I think you don't know. Sometimes you don't know a boundary until someone pushes it, and then you know it for next time. So you learn as you go, and some boundaries you didn't even know you had.
One more question over here.
Hi, my name is Stacy Parker, and I am a career development facilitator, resume writer, and career coach. And aside from the resume writing, most of what I offer is intangible services. How do you market intangible services to people so that they see that there's some value in what you're offering? Because many times people want to talk to me until we start talking about prices. So,
And they've milked you for all the information and ideas and everything like that.
For that, I agree. I used to give free consultations, and then I stopped because people will find a way to milk that and to drag that out. And the people who are serious are willing to pay you. And so that fee may not be as high as some of your other fees, but you have to pay me to talk to me because that's why you want to talk to me. Because what I have for you is valuable information. So even my consult, I'll give you 15 minutes and I run that conversation. I tell you what I have to provide for you, but when you want to start talking back to me, that's going to cost you. So before I even meet with the person, they're getting an invoice from me.
Sandler, this sales company that has, they call that, don't drop your candy in the lobby. By that, don't give all that stuff before they go in. Make them pay for the candy. Absolutely. Don't give it away. I mean, and that's just what you're talking about. I had the 45-minute conversation on the phone because I'm a nice guy with this guy who wanted coaching. And I gave him way too much information about his situation. You think I got that job? He disappeared. Because I did exactly what I told you not to do. And I have to watch myself because I so want to help people that it's so easy to do that.
It's easy.
I have
You're so
to
passionate.
rein myself back in.
Start out a conversation.
And that's how this
And I'm suckered into it.
And it turns into,
But
And
that's
you have to
also
stop
depends.
and say, that sounds like something we need to talk about at a different venue, and that's where the invoice comes in.
But it depends on your business too, because I have a product. You wind up with a thing. So advice is free because I dare you to try and learn InDesign in a day. You know what I mean? So like, I feel like I got the cards here.
But I think that's the difference
Yeah, that is
between
true.
a product and a
Exactly.
service.
And I am a service, but it is a product.
Yeah,
So you
it's a
kind of have to
difference.
figure out what you are. And so for me, advice being free, that's fine. I'm happy to do it.
And beware of the, can I take you out for a drink? Can I take you out to lunch? Because then it becomes a 3-hour lunch and all your other clients suffer. And it was all for free and you may never see that person again.
And it wasn't even a good drink.
Come to my office and we can chat. And it what?
It wasn't even a good drink. Exactly.
Okay.
well, let's give, let's give Ron and our panelists a great meal.
Thank you.
I want to thank Ron, Ilene, Jim, and Kandi for sharing your delightful journey and insight. And it's because of you, entrepreneurs like you, who are willing to give back that makes Austin such a great place. And let me tell you some takeaways I wrote down. Be yourself. You need a business plan. Time management. Balance. So, if you need any of the business plans, come see us at the City of Boston Small Business Program.
Yes.
We do provide coaching for free. That is one place you can get some things for free. And on May 4th, we're going to have an open house at our Small Business Solutions Center and One Texas Center. So check us out on Facebook. I also like to thank IBC Bank again for this beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful
Yeah.
room. This time we have some gifts for our guests, our panelists.
I like
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Take it.
And as they come, I want to just personally thank our small business team. We have Joy and Cindy and Roberta and Veronica and our
Thank you, Joy. Oh, no, thank you. I'm still looking at my stuff here.
the staff always putting on an excellent program. Last year we had Exploring Entrepreneur about how to get involved in manufacturing. And I didn't even realize we had a lot of services in Austin related to manufacturing for small business. Then we had another program at Whole Foods about how to get your product on the shelf. So please sign up, get our newsletter. I mean, we have some fabulous programs. Finally, I want to remind you on your table that you have information about the small business program. We offer a variety of services, again, mostly free. I'm sure right now it is tax season, so our most popular class is called the Tax Man Coming. So if you need some help with that, please sign up. And again, check us out on Twitter at smallbizaustin or at www.smallbizaustin.org. And again, I just want to say thank you. Let's give our panelists another round.